The Great Smoky Mountains, a place of towering trees, ancient fog, and untold secrets. For centuries, these dark forests have hidden more than just wildlife. Hidden deep within its mist are stories. Stories of people lost to time, or something far darker. People who lived outside the bounds of society. People who may have gone utterly feral.
Hey y'all, you ever been way out in the woods and had to leave because of your overwhelming creepy scents going off? Let me know if you have in the comments. Tonight, we're jumping headfirst into one of the most spine-chilling aspects of the Smoky Mountains, something that may just send a shiver down your spine. These mountains aren't just a peaceful escape into nature. They are also home to one of the darkest, most unsettling legends. The stories of people, some say entire families, who vanished into the wild and never came back. We're talking about wild men, feral people, human beings who have been living in isolation so long that they lost touch with humanity, or perhaps something else took over. Tonight, I'm not just sharing folklore. I'm going to tell you about real-life encounters with these feral beings, allegedly stalking the Smokies and other forests. And these are stories that will haunt you. In the Smoky Mountains, there have been whispers for decades of people, families living deep in the woods far away from society, some for generations. They didn't just survive, they became something different. Their survival skills were more like animal instincts than anything we could understand. But perhaps the scariest part? Some people believe these wild men are still out there. And these are not just stories passed down through the years. These are real encounters. One story that's haunted locals for years, is that of a hiker, an experienced one, who ventured into the Smokies, seeking the quiet and solitude the mountains are known for. But what he found was far from peaceful. It was the early 2000s when a man, let's call him Tom, decided to hike alone through a remote trail in the Smokies, one of the oldest paths in the park. Tom had heard the rumors, the stories of people who'd gone missing in the mountains, but he dismissed them as nothing more than local legend. That is, until he encountered something in the woods that changed his mind forever. Tom was several miles into his hike when he heard something, a rustling in the bushes. He assumed it was a deer or maybe a bear, but then he saw them. Figures. Strange, disheveled people, their eyes wild, their clothes tattered, their skin unnaturally pale, like they hadn't seen sunlight in years. They moved in a way that didn't look human. They didn't walk, they stalked. He froze, barely able to breathe as they circled him, watching him with intense, feral eyes. When he tried to make himself known, they scattered, like animals, vanishing into the trees. Tom never spoke to anyone about what he saw until years later, but he was never the same. He left the Smokies, and his mind would never truly return. Some say he saw what could only be described as feral people living out there, too far removed from society to be considered human anymore. But Tom wasn't the only one to have an encounter like this. Another chilling story comes from the 1970s, when a group of hikers set out on a multi-day trek through the Smoky Mountains. The group, 4 friends, were following an old, unmarked trail, eager to explore parts of the park few others ventured into. But as night began to fall, strange things started to happen. One of the hikers, let's call her Emily, was the first to notice something wasn't right. She'd been hearing noises, scratching at their tents, low growls, and an almost unnatural silence that fell over the camp at night. On the 3rd night, they woke up to find their food supplies had been rummaged through and half-eaten. But what terrified them most wasn't the missing food. It was the tracks they found around their campsite. The tracks weren't from any animal. They were human, but twisted. Long, claw-like nails had torn through the dirt. No one in the group had seen anyone or anything approach. But when they checked the edge of their camp the next morning, they found something far worse. Something watching them. They caught a glimpse of it. A figure, barely human, crouched low in the brush, watching them. It was pale, gaunt, and covered in dirt, and when it saw them staring back, it disappeared into the trees as silently as it had come. The hikers fled the area and never spoke of it again. No one knows what they saw that night, but the locals still talk about the wild people that roam the deep parts of the Smokies, surviving in ways we could never imagine. So what are we dealing with here? Feral people? Forgotten souls who slipped through the cracks of time, or something far darker? The Great Smoky Mountains are ancient, filled with secrets we might never understand. And maybe, just maybe, there are things out there, waiting for us to discover them. If you enjoyed tonight's chilling tale, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any more mysterious stories from the unknown. Who knows what we'll uncover next time? Until then, stay spooky.